Yesterday was the regular monthly meeting of your Golden Rain Foundation board, as it always is on the first Tuesday of each month. And joining us in the studio today, Lloyd Foster, GRF President. Welcome back to Channel 6. Good to have you with us. Sometimes the things on the agenda are done and sometimes they're not, and usually there's a space for the chairman to have remarks, and sometimes you choose to have nothing to say. You did have some brief comments yesterday.
Yesterday I gave a brief summary on two items. The first item was the Connection Technologies bankruptcy.
Let's back up and tell the folks, they're the company that came in here about 2 years ago,
Correct.
Operating the cable portion of your electronic
They
communication.
provide cable, internet, and phone service to the community. On April 26th, they filed for bankruptcy in Delaware, Wilmington, and we immediately sought specialized legal counsel in the telecom and bankruptcy law to help us out back there. And as this progressed, we put in a bid, GRF put in a bid, and was declared a qualified bidder in the process. Last Friday, we found out that there was one additional bidder. We had no information other than there was one other bidder. Yesterday, the bids were opened, and we have no further details as to the results of that. There's a lot of details that go into this process to finalize anything. And once it is finalized, then we'll notify the residents.
Right. I understand Russ Ridgway, who represents you, Director of Broadband Services, actually was back there representing the community.
We sent him back. I think he went back Saturday.
Right. So he's keeping the board abreast, and then I guess as the final things come from the judge, and the bankruptcy court judges have a lot of leeway what they can do, eventually we'll be able to say.
The whole process is supposed to be wrapped up by June 14th, according to the court calendar.
So that's next week.
So that's next week.
All right. Well, I know you'll keep our residents posted on that.
Right.
The other matter you discussed yesterday?
Was the filing of the specific plan for land use with the city. That's going through the process. We have no further information to report at this time other than it is in the system.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting. As a matter of fact, the city's meeting today. City Council meets this afternoon. This is an extra meeting as they're doing their budget preparation. And I'm sure there'll be a lot of communication going on between you, your staff, the city, and their staff as they work these details out. And I guess they actually have a land use committee at the city council level as well, members of the community that are involved in that. So there'll be, I'm sure,
and they also have a consultant to deal with the specific plan.
And you've had consultants over the past as well that continue to help you sort of walk you through the process, which it sounds easy, but it really isn't. There's quite a bit of complexity, a lot of hoops to jump through.
Oh, it's, we had a document probably an inch or inch and a half thick to go through of various questions, scenarios, and we weeded it down to, just a few.
Just a few hundred pages.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
well, it's interesting, of course, the major landowner in what is the city of Laguna Woods is, in fact, the Golden Rain Foundation, and some of that land is on your Golden Rain Trust, and some of that land's actually undeveloped, or shall we say, minimally developed for certain uses. So that gives you some. Once this process works through, then the board can fine-tune what they want to do eventually with this land.
We can't do anything with the vacant property until the city does the specific plan and puts the zoning in place and the uses in place. And then if we want to develop anything, we have to make a development request and go through building permits and that whole process.
Potential zoning changes and all kinds of things there. So that's all down the road in the future as well, and we'll be hearing more about that as that progresses as well. And again, communication between the Golden Rain, its staff, and the city and its staff as well. Under old business, you had actually several things on the agenda yesterday, but a couple of them may end up costing some residents a little bit more money. You had some issues there with parking up at the recreational vehicle lot, and there may be some additional charges there, as well as Golden Rain is now running this traffic committee for the public streets here. So you were firming up those fines as well.
Correct.
And so the traffic court will now be held by Golden Rain if it's on a main street. If it's in a cul-de-sac, it'll still be held by the mutuals.
That's correct.
All right. You're also looking at your facilities, and not the boardroom so much, but the facility you use up on the second floor where our directors meet.
Yes.
There was a discussion on updating and the director's room up there.
The result of that discussion was we would take care of the refurbishment of that room whenever we do the community center in total, which is already budgeted for in capital plan expenditures in the reserves.
Yep.
And what was decided was a little bit of house cleaning up there, maybe some fresh paint in the room, but nothing major. There's no furniture that needs to be replaced. It was just a general cleanup.
Some people wanted television sets, some people wanted computers and some of those niceties as well, but it sounds like it's going to be more of a meeting room than a viewing.
That's the purpose of
room,
the room is to go up and get your mail, sign documents, read various publications or documents.
Yeah.
It's not a drop-in lounge.
Not a lounge for the directors, yeah. Interesting, we've heard both from the president of United and Third, and I know you've been affected by this as well. Changes in state law this year really put a lot more requirements and restrictions on agendas and what can and can't be discussed in a meeting. So your attorneys are keeping you on the straight and narrow on that one.
Right. With the passage of Senate Bill 528, the Open Meeting Act really put a hamper on all boards. They basically can't do anything outside of an open meeting.
Right.
It's similar to the Brown Act for cities.
Right, right. So new rules, and again,
Right.
Our directors are having to handle all that. Well, among the things that came up at the meeting yesterday, a new popular facility a lot of you have enjoyed, whether you're golfers or not, is the Village Green. And one of the things that's been very popular over there is lockers where people can store their golf equipment, so much so that they're all taken. So you're thinking about, you want to add a few more down there.
Right. We have, last count, 28 people requesting bag storage lockers. And we were trying to figure out where to put them. And we came up with the idea of putting them downstairs in the cart barn storage area along one wall. And we can get 20 plus down there, but we're going to start with 20 and see how it works. And if it works okay, we may add more than that in the future.
All right. So again, if you're on that waiting list, you may get one of those. If you're somewhere between number 1 and number 20, you might be okay. If you're number 25, you may have to wait a little longer if you're on that waiting list there. And then another popular facility, whether it's to use or just to visit, is the Equestrian Center here, a rather unique part of this community. And that's one of the original structures here, built in the early 60s by Mr. Cortese as he built this community. You're looking to do some upgrades on the office down there, some furniture and some cleanup.
We're doing a major revision of the restroom facilities down there. It'll be ADA compliant and modernized and improved greatly. As part of that project, we're going to clean up and spruce up the office area.
I know a lot of residents are down there as well. They have a lot of volunteers that work down there as well, so that gives them a little nicer environment there. That's going to be about a $5,000 project, a little bit more expensive project. Came up under maintenance and construction with Mr. Tibbetts, and that is at the Vehicle Maintenance Center.
Yes.
A lot of times, I know I watch a lot of these shows on TV where they're talking about car repair and all that, and they have these nice epoxy floors. Well, it's aesthetically nice, but it also makes it easier to clean up and keep the place clean rather than a concrete floor, which tends to stain. There is an existing floor there now, but there's been some moisture issues, and you want to redo it.
About 4 or 5 years ago, that floor was treated and painted, and unbeknownst to us, there was a moisture problem in the concrete, and the moisture percolated up through the concrete, got underneath the paint, started bubbling and peeling and flaking off. So it looked pretty bad, and it was a safety issue, and it was hard to keep clean. So we had a contractor come in and analyze the situation, and he said that what we needed to do was put down a vapor barrier before we put down the finish coat. And that's what the resolution was about yesterday.
All right.
That
Again,
will be done.
that's going to be about $16,000,
Yes.
almost $17,000 to do. I don't know any of you folks that have ever put down like a pergo floor or they always put a moisture barrier in a lot of those as well if it's on a concrete slab, just to prevent that moisture problem from happening. Security, very important here, and there was a proposal to add some additional closed-circuit television equipment at the village greens.
Right.
One possibility was to have it go up to the security headquarters, have individuals monitor those screens. That would be 5 more screens to monitor. Another option was to have it recorded on a digital recording device.
Right.
Maybe the golf shop personnel would watch it. So that was a lengthy discussion there, and you got security involved as well as community activities.
Right. That particular resolution contained an appropriation of $34,100 for additional cameras, plus connecting them to the security division, which is monitored 24/7. After a lot of discussion, that motion failed. Another one was put into place to install the additional cameras and tie them to the DVR that's located in the golf operations manager's office. Right. There is no monitor. It would just be recorded, similar to what you find in 7-Elevens or liquor stores or maybe some of your major department stores.
So it's not to catch things in the act, but after the fact you would have at least a visual record.
It's a record.
Yeah, and that was the decision the board made, was the second, a little bit less expensive.
Right. That totaled, I think, $11,500 or something.
So you'll be
like
seeing those new cameras added there
Correct.
at the meeting. You folks go into closed session and lunch and lots of meetings and lots of things. Any final comments about yesterday's meeting?
Final comments. Not too long ago, we had the Golden Rain Foundation Trust analyzed by a specialist. That report has been completed. Yesterday, we declassified it as confidential. So next week, it will be available to any resident that wants one by request and pay the copying cost for that document.
That will be down on the first floor in the community service area?
They'll have to request that through the general manager's office.
Okay, so come up to the second floor.
Second floor.
GM's office.
See Patty or Kim or Chris, and they'll get you a copy.
All right. Again, people are interested in that, and that helps people understand between the difference between what Golden Rain owns and what the trust owns and all of that. It's somewhat confusing to the residents, I think,
and
at
the
times.
powers of the trustee, which the Golden Rain Foundation Board of Directors are the trustees of the trust.
Right.
So it lays out the powers and duties of the trustees, and it's very interesting. It was a document that has never been analyzed that we know of in the history of the community. And last year, the board felt that it was necessary to have that document analyzed so we would know what the duties and powers of the trustees actually were. And then this year, we finished it up.
All right. So you folks that want to read something like that can get your copy in that. I think a lot of people will probably not be that interested, but it's a rather large.
There's a few that
But there's a few that probably can get their hands on it, so you can check that out, second floor. If you missed the meeting, it's going to be replayed tomorrow, Thursday at 1:30, and then again, the final replay of this month's Golden Rain meeting next Wednesday evening at 6 o'clock right here on Channel 6 TV. And we'll see you back here in July.
Right.
Thank you for joining us. Good
You're
to have
welcome.
you with us today.
Thank you.
We'll be back with more news, more things to share with you as our program continues for this Wednesday.